Hey guys, Jeff here, and today I'm going to show you how to paint a bathroom from A to Z. There's a lot of corners and edges in the bathroom and special considerations, so it's important to do things in the right order and with the right products. If you use my system, you'll be able to eliminate mistakes and get a professional finish the first time. Let's get started. When it comes time to sand, remember I love my 9-inch radial sander, okay? On my extension pole, this makes it a lot less work because you extend your pole, you can keep your hands below your heart, you can apply a little bit of pressure, and you can just go like this, right? And get that nice feathered edge. See that? That's a nice feathered edge. But, truth be told, in a bathroom, you don't want to use this. Here's why. If you can see a defect in the wall from 6 feet away, it's a defect. If you can't see it from 6 feet away, it doesn't exist. Right? That's how warranties work. Now in a small bathroom like this, nothing is 6 feet away. So you can't rely on a machine like a 9-inch radial sander to get a perfect finish because you're not standing 6 feet away, ever. You're right up close. And when you're right up close in a room, you want to be using one of these. This is a medium and the fine sanding paper block. And what you want to do is you want to stand right here and sand. Until it is absolutely perfect. All right, the next step for us is site protection. And this is a product found at Home Depot called Guardia. Okay, this product is great for carpets, hard floors. The backside has got a bit of a self-adhesive to it, okay? Just enough to keep it in place. And honestly, I bought this whole roll just to try it out, and it turned out to be a really nice product. You know, you'll find that in the world of flooring protection, you've got a few options. One of them is painter's tarp and construction paper, different thicknesses. The papers either tear easy or they're just so bulky and they're always curling up on you, where this stuff offers a perfect balance of convenience. All right, because it's adhesive, it just goes on any flat surface. That's all behind the vanity, so don't worry about it. And then you can just peel it up and then reuse it for the other side of your room. Home Depot, they sell orange trays like this. Now where I'm from, I can't get a Worcester tray. I don't know why. They sell them in Canada. But down here, they're selling this flimsy crap for $4. And I got 3 of these microfiber rollers, 3/8. It's a small room. It doesn't hold enough paint for my liking, but in a bathroom, it's probably a good choice. So we've got all that put together, and we're using the Worcester Pro paintbrush, okay? All the links for all these products, of course, will be in the video description. And, of course, we're using Bare Drywall Plus. It's a primer and sealer. This is necessary on any new drywall. Now, if anybody wants to know, Jeff, you're getting ready to paint, you haven't cleaned the dust off the walls yet. Correct. And why would you? Painter's tip, nobody ever wants to talk about. The reason this paint covers so well is because of the solids content that's in that paint. By solids, I'm meaning the dust that's on the wall, okay? They basically take the dust and put it in a can. So when the dust is on the wall, it's sanded so fine, it doesn't, there's no texture. So when you paint with it, it gets picked up off the wall, mixed in with the paint, which is a mixture anyway. This is not a solution, old-fashioned science. It's a mixture. It becomes part of the mixture, dissolves, and becomes part of the solids content, which then becomes part of why it hides so well, fills little scratches and cracks and nooks and crannies, and makes you look like a professional painter. So, you want to have a short stick that fits inside the room, okay? I know it's a small room, but don't be that guy that paints like you see in commercials and videos from major retailers and paint suppliers. These guys always want you painting like this, right? Looking like an idiot. Get a cage that locks like this, okay? And then you can paint using pressure Oh, it's so much easier to paint with the stick. Okay, and the goal here is to use a little bit of pressure. You can't put drywall primer on a wall without pressure because you want to force it into the mud. All right? If there's no pressure, there's no seal. It's just sitting on the surface. Okay, now here we go. We've got a green wall because we're using that extra layer of protection in the drywall because this room does not have a fan. Okay. It only has a window in the shower, which I'm going to be honest with you, I don't expect anybody ever to open up to get fresh air in here. Now, because we're in Florida, there's so much air conditioning coming through here on a regular basis. I'm not concerned about water damage long term, but in regards to everything else, the walls are going to be exposed to a certain amount of steam during showers, and depending on use, it might become a little bit too much. Oh, look at that. Typical. When you prime, you find defects in the drywall. This is a great big ridge dent. We are going to have to fix that up because it is going to be behind the toilet. I got lucky. I'm not fixing anything that's hiding behind the toilet. The toilet covers it. It's as good as repaired. Okay. Do not ever roll right into your corner. You will scratch it with the cage. Okay, that's what the brush is for. We'll come back with the brush in a second. And the same concept with the dust. We always sand in between coats. Same concept with the dust turning into the paint. It works with the finish coat as well. I'm going to keep on saying that because there's always new people joining the channel who haven't come to realize Jeff never cleans the dust off of his walls. And it's not because I'm lazy, it's because that's part of what makes the paint job so good. Here we go. And I can see I've got fibers coming off my roller. I'm seeing that peeling. See it sticking up? So before that becomes a problem, we'll remove it from the roller. Here we go. Now the drywall itself doesn't need as much primer as the mud. Okay, the paper's already been treated with some stuff, so you don't have to be as concerned about getting it solid white. Depending on the color you're painting with, all right? I'm using a misty gray. Should have pretty decent coverage with 2 coats, which is what I'm using. But the drywall mud, this is where you want to load it up. Get 1 run. Okay, push that in there. If it's sliding around, you can stretch it out a little bit. But as long as it's rolling, just medium pressure. You don't want to push so hard that you cause nail pops. But you really want to back roll, push that product into that drywall, and then you want to give it about an hour to really dry up so that you know you have a good seal. When you have a good seal, your paint doesn't get sucked up into the drywall behind it. And what that means is you have a really good finish and you don't have to waste paint. It's like painting a sponge without the sealer, guys. Okay? And we're gonna come back with a brush and get that line perfect. I'm just making sure I don't have any drip sitting on the wall. There we go. Okay. All right, boom, starting to look like a bathroom. Okay, that's it for priming. I'm just gonna pull out the brush, do my cut lines. We are adding trim everywhere around this room eventually, so the carpentry, right? So I've got quarter round of stuff going everywhere, so no worries there. Keep life simple. I'm gonna load up the brush real good. Scrape off the excess. Check how much paint I'm holding inside. Nothing on the outside, it's all inside. All right, so then I can come along here like this. And of course, this is all getting painted too, right? So we don't have to be worried about it. You can start where areas aren't delicate. There we go. I want to make sure it's all nicely primed across the top. And then we come down here with a cut line. Right up against our PVC. Now the reason I love PVC is because you can also get a plastic knife, little drywall tool, like a 1-inch spatula, when you're all done. And if you found that you got some of your primer and your paint on your PVC, it'll peel right off. Give it a couple of days if necessary so that the paint can cure and harden up. Okay. And then PVC can be cleaned with plastic. It's brilliant. Here we go. So now it's time to paint the walls. And of course, everything's from Home Depot. But if you're a fan of the channel, you know I hate bare paints, other than the drywall primer, right? And so what I bought instead was the PPG Glidden Diamond, all right? This is got an acrylic finish. It's washable and scrubbable, which is one of those things you want. That is the element that makes this a bathroom paint. So cut and roll is simply this: adding paint to the wall around the edges is called cutting. Okay, and again, this box has got to be painted too, so we're not too concerned. Now, right away you can see the difference. If you're a fan of bare paint, you'll see the difference in the application here. Okay, this stuff goes on silky smooth. I have way too much paint on my brush. I'm going to just keep on moving it around until I'm happy with it. Set the bristles and then cut against that plastic. Okay, and then we gently come back and comb over to get rid of all the extra paint. All right, now, you don't want to have streaks and brush lines, so always paint them out, okay? Here we go. So when we're painting, we're not painting with the paint on the outside of the brush, we're painting from the inside. And what we do is we set the heel, and then we push the bristles over there, and then we take some pressure off, set the bristles right in the corner, and then we just draw a line. The paint comes from inside. As soon as you see paint building up on the tip, rub it off, reset your heel. All right, here comes the heel. Get some paint on the wall, and now we're going to push it over, and then we're going to paint from inside the brush, bristles up against the edge. And if you make a mistake, you're going to be not enough paint. Hardly ever will you have too much paint, because the paint's coming from inside the brush. You can do it the other way too. You can even go from the tip, push them over, come the other way up the wall. All right, that is what cutting is, in case you were wondering. Again, just go back, feather it out. Make sure you don't have any thick paint lines anywhere. Good quality paints have self-leveling in it. This is kind of a medium quality paint, so you got to do a lot of the leveling yourself, all right? Don't expect the paint to solve your problem here. You remember, you're not paying $100 a gallon, so you got to manage your own expectations while you're working here. Okay, here we go. Come across the tab. Now you should be able to cut a brand new room like this in 5 minutes, maybe 10. Paint takes about 20 minutes to 30 minutes to set up. So you have lots of time to get the roller out and then overlay your brush lines with the roller and get a similar texture. Remember, you can't go right into the corners. So if you want, you can use a little mini roller to force the texture to be exactly the same if you find that your paint has got too much texture. But I find with paint that goes on this smooth that the texture is never really much the issue. But the more texture the paint has intrinsically, okay. That's it for the first coat. Again, a 3/8 snap roller on the Wooster, just like the walls, the primer. Load it up and off we go to the races. Now it's a 2-coat application. So since it's a 2-coat application, don't be concerned too much about the coverage on the first coat. This is a gray after all. Picking grays is one of the reasons why you can get away with 1-coat coverage with some paints, right? But those paints all go on way too thick in my opinion. A little bit of splatter coming off that roller. So you gotta move a little slower. If you move too fast, you're gonna wear it. Now you can see that dent I'm talking about, that imperfection in the wall. Yeah, when everything was white, I didn't see it. That's amazing. And remember, this is why this process exists, because we're going to do one coat of the paint today. We're going to install the cabinet. We're going to do the vanity top. We're going to do the carpentry, the toilet, all of that. Then we'll do the second coat. Do not ever do your final coat until everything is installed, okay? Because you will have plenty of occasion to do damage to your new walls while you're finishing off your project. Remember, paint takes 30 days to cure. 30. Now, unless you want to paint 2 coats on your wall and then wait a month before you come back to finish installing all the bathroom, I'm going to suggest you leave that second coat until the very end, so that in case you get a ding or you come in with the door and put a hole in the drywall, you can patch, repair, prime, do a first coat, and then you can do all your last coat at the same time. All right. Turn it around, keep the cage away from the inside wall. Put that texture on that paint right up to about 1/4 inch from the wall. There we go. We're not using pressure here, okay? I'm just holding the roller to the wall, that's it. We're gonna let the tool do all the work. Basically just gravity, okay? Let it roll down the wall. If you start using pressure, what you'll end up with is drips. And of course, now that we've added moisture to this wall, it's more likely to move. And so if you have a 2x4 that has a bow that you've screwed it in, wet drywall is a lot more flexible. Adding pressure will cause a nail pop. So you don't want that. Now this is just to add a little texture. Here we go. All right. Okay. Baseboard casing and a little bit of texture here. A little bit of texture here. There's another one of those little fuzzies. Where'd it go? There it is. Don't want to leave that on the wall. Okay. There we are. Nice and quick. Of course, up here, careful not to touch that corner. For the rest of it, we'll get nice and close here, because the casing goes right to the wall when we're done. Here we go. We got a bit of a drip going on up there. Okay. Yeah, you gotta be careful with those exposed edges like that. They will grab paint and then release it later. Okay, so in light of everything needing time to dry and getting this finished today, I'm actually going to use my semi-gloss paint and brush here. I'm going to paint all the door casings, I'm going to paint all the trim work, and I'm going to paint all of that quarter round now that the caulking is set up. And I'm using the Glidden semi-gloss. Here we go. That's a nice, decent paint. A little bit thinner than I like it, but hey, you know what? For the price, not too shabby. Always do your trim work first, and then you do your walls when you're done. It's so much easier to cut a wall, right? Because when I'm cutting a wall, I'm coming at it this way. If I do the trim last, I'm in the cabinet upside down backwards. If it's awkward, you're doing it wrong. Next step, if you have any weird damage, and this is gonna happen, especially if you're prepping after it's been a while, grab yourself some of this stuff here. Premium molding, crown molding caulking. It's an acrylic latex, sets up in 20 minutes. You can paint right away. You don't need to use drywall compound or spackle to prepare your walls if it's just a minor dent, okay? Throw a little bit of that on there, grab your 4-inch knife, and fill that hole. Done. No sanding required if you use a steel knife, okay? That's a great cheat. And you can do any kind of imperfection, any kind of divots or holes, anything that just screams at you, all right, before you start painting. And it's a great prep tool because it makes this job quick and simple. All right, yeah, beautiful. All right. Oh, I bumped the wall during construction. Okay. There we go. And I'm done. Okay, wow. Well, I made a mistake. I had that paint sitting out just a little too long and it started to get thick and chunky. Don't do that. There we go. That's much better. Probably still going to have a couple chunks in the brush now. Yep, there we go. Painter pants. Okay, now, when it comes to picking out your paints for your bathroom, you're going to go to any paint store. They're going to have about 7 or 8 different quality lines, okay? Don't be afraid to go pushing towards the higher quality line. You want to get something that A is 100% acrylic, B is washable, right? And then the durability factor can be important. When you're working on renovating your bathroom and you're going to do a paint job, if it's existing and you got all your fixtures installed, then you're going to be fine to leave them there, cut and roll, use a little mini roller around all your fixtures to add texture so you don't have brush lines. Okay, but here we go. See, what I did here is I did not use that Kills. This is new construction, and what I used is a paintable silicone to attach my countertop. So I'm able to cut a perfectly straight line. That's another option for you if you're doing new construction. All right? But buying a good quality paint can be the difference between a good job and a bad job. And you'd be surprised, buying yourself something that says, oh, 1 coat coverage, usually means that it's got a lot of thick content in the paint. Run both directions. I am really having a hard time with the old paint that was on here. You do all your cutting on your surfaces and then you roll and you try to get your texture as same everywhere as you can. So on small little spaces, use a mini roller with a microfiber sleeve. Okay, look at, here we are again. Stuff keeps coming back. All right, now you put the heel, you put the tip, get the paint close, okay, and then come back again, and then run your cut line. All right, and then always working it over so you don't have a big ridge of paint, okay? If you need to do another coat, do another coat. If you've done a nice cut and you're happy with it, you don't have to do the coat to the perfect of the cut next time. You can cheat and go 1/8 of an inch away so you don't risk your job, okay? That makes the next coat much faster. Sometimes, depending on the color, depending on the quality of the paint, you might need an extra coat. So don't be cheap just because it's a small room and get a quart. It won't be enough paint. By the time you load your brush and your roller, half your paint's already gone. You haven't even started yet. Above your doors, no one sees. Don't worry about them. Okay? But on the side of the door, same rule applies. Okay? This is a cut line. This is going to be visible. Once you throw that mirror in, the whole world's going to see it. Make sure you've taken time, get some paint on this wall within 1/8 of an inch. Okay? With a loaded brush, come back and draw yourself a straight line. Gravity does most of the work here. You just set the brush in the gap where the wood meets the wall. There we go. If it starts to run away on you and get a bubble, you just take it out and wipe it away. All right? Now, that's a perfect cut. Make sure you remove your doors from your vanity. And if you haven't got a caulking line from your cabinet to your wall, add one. Get rid of all these little shadows, okay? Shadows are your enemy. If you have a shadow somewhere, it draws attention. All right? You don't want to spend a lot of money doing nice project, having great floors, great tile, beautiful showers, and then have little shadows everywhere, because those little shadows will draw everybody's attention. They're going to see how gorgeous your tile is. All right, here we go. Alrighty. One last little run here. There we go. And set that brush there in the crack. Here we are. Okay, brush all these small spaces. Make sure that you don't have lines. All right. And then to finish them off, all right, here's my mini roller. This is a microfiber sleeve and it's relatively dry, so check this out. When I paint this, I go from brush line to roller line, and you can run this close to the edges, okay? There we are. Add that texture to all of your little brush lines. Right down nice and close to your surfaces. Remember, you've got about 20 minutes to 30 minutes, depending on the paint. Make sure you read your label before that surface starts to dry. You can even run these into your inside corners, right? So that you don't have brush lines. And I'm telling you, in a bathroom, brush lines are your enemy because everybody is so bloody close to the truth. All right, here we are. And that was coming off, we were guaranteed. Here we go. Okay, that's your secret, okay? So again, right up the side, not using a lot of pressure, just adding texture. All right, here we go. Now I'm gonna finish cutting the rest of that wall. We'll get it rolled for you real quick so you can see what it looks like done. All right, so this is the roller texture. That is the brush line texture. And a little bit of magic here, up and down. Now the lines have all disappeared. Okay, that's what I'm talking about. It's just a little detail, but if you're gonna see it, you're gonna see it. All right, so make sure you address it. All right, I'm gonna push this up. Cut my trim. No pressure, right? You got the whole world watching you paint. You gotta be perfect. All right, there we go. Same thing here, all right? Just a little bit of texture. Oh, let's get rid of that. A little bit of texture. Okay. Whew. Now that these walls are done, put this out of the way so we don't trip over it. Okay, now I'm going to take my sanding pole, release the sanding head, and I'm ready to go. Okay? Just a note, if you're doing 2 coats, and you're going to do 1 coat today and 1 coat tomorrow, or you find you're going to need 3 coats, or life happens and you get interrupted, leave your roller in the cage like this, and then bag it. If you live slab on glade, you're fine. Put it on the floor somewhere in a corner. And then on the garbage bag, put your paint stick on it so people know it's your paint gear, not garbage. If you're in a 2-story home, put it in the basement because it will glaze over, especially in the wintertime when the heat's on, okay? And it'll start to go thick and make a mess. Now, here we go. Now, we got a 9-inch roller, got a 1/2 inch sleeve. 1/2 inch sleeve holds a lot of paint. We're just gonna run it down the wall and we're gonna go cover a fair amount here. We're looking for about 3 feet wide by 7 to 8 feet tall. Okay, we're just gonna push it around, evenly distribute it before we worry about how it looks. So now I got the wall covered in paint, no big drips. Now I can be careful, pointing with the cage in the direction that I wanna finish. I'm gonna push down here and add that texture. Blending, blending, blending. Backwards, not using pressure, okay? Just holding it to the wall. Let the roller sleeve do all the work. Okay? There we are. I'm gonna get close to something like this, flip it around, Keep your roller tight to the wall. There we go. And now you're left with this scenario. You've got a smaller section and a full roller, okay? Get some paint off of there. Get some paint off of here, all right? Come up here. I can already tell I'm gonna need another coat of paint just because. What's going on here? My brush lines didn't cover everything very well. And that's okay. Sometimes you need 2 or 3 coats. It's not a big deal. Don't fall for that marketing, oh, 1 coat coverage. You'll never get a smooth wall with 1 coat coverage. And that is where the mirror is going to be, so it won't matter. And I'll tell you, when you stand this close to a wall, you will forever find another problem. You got to know when to hold them and when to fold them here, guys. Okay? If you have imperfections that are going to go behind something, don't worry about them. Okay, now, those 2 walls are both done. Alrighty. Now, the only thing I've got left to say about painting in a bathroom, if you have fixtures attached to the wall and you can remove them because they have set screws, then do it. It's a lot easier to do that because you can get paint on your mounting plate. That's not a problem. If you're going to leave them in place, make sure that you have a mini roller and use the texture because all those brush lines around a towel bar look disgusting. And make sure you tape them off, okay? Now, I'm just going to go finish the rest of this coat. And if you want to see this whole project and how I built this bathroom in my double wide trailer, that's right. This is a most beautiful double wide trailer in the entire country, built by yours truly. Then check out the link below. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't, guys, okay? There's a lot of great tips and trips coming. And we do have our brand new 1974 project series starting any day now. Don't want to miss that. We bought a 1974 house in Ottawa, 4-bedroom, garage, basement, all of that video series. The entire renovation is going to be right here on this channel. Make sure you subscribe to our membership program if you've got a major project coming up. And I'll be there to help you out, give you advice and tips and tricks and help you with your product selection. Cheers to next time.